In this video, let's take a look at the Loop Machine Pro. I'm going to add it before my signal chain because I don't want any processing to be applied to anything that's recorded into this. So how this Loop Machine Pro works is you record clips into this buffer, and then you can add overdubs. So you can build up a piece by adding extra overdubs, and it's going to loop back. So I've got the Loop Machine going into a jazz amp and then into a shimmer effect. And I'll show you a bit later how you can take your recorded parts and the overdubs and start altering the effects, but it's not going to affect what you initially recorded into the Loop Machine Pro. So looking at the Loop Machine Pro, we've got an A and a B, which means we can record two different parts that can loop across, and then we can create overdubs over it. Over here, it controls your time mode. This is the original time. You can double the time and you can halve the time. This is showing the playback direction. So it's going to play back forward, and you can reverse it, that I will show you. And over here, you're going to see the amounts of overdubs, and you can jump forward and back, going back in time to your first recording, and then going forward to add the extra overdubs that you've done. And then over here, you can use this to record in your overdubs once you've recorded in your first part. And what's important to note are these settings down here. So I've got it set to overdub mode, which means as I record and I play back, it's going to create more overdubs. Then over here, you can set your record length. So the record length is going to be 2 bars, which meaning I'm going to record 2 bars of audio, and you'll see as it cycles over here, showing you the amount of bars. And the record start is how you've set everything up. So I'm going to have a count in of 1 bar, and then it's going to record for 2 bars. And I'm going to use my metronome. And if I click that, it opens up the metronome settings over here. This is loaded up in my DAW, so it's picking up the BPM of my DAW. And over here, you're seeing the sort of count timer of the metronome. And with these settings, I can set it to record mode, which means I'm going to have the count in, and then the metronome is still going to play while it's recording in the part. If you don't want to hear the metronome, but you want the count in, you can go over here to count in. But I quite like the record mode, so I'm going to leave it set to that. So now let's start recording in a part, and then I'll show you some of these other parameters and how you can make some changes. So I'm going to start the timer. I've got the count in, and here we go. So that's the part looping back. Now, if I hit this, it's going to start an overdub. I'll leave it set to overdub mode, and I'll record something in. Now, if I don't like that part, I can jump back here. So that's just the initial part, and I can record in some more. Record another part. So we're hearing 3 overdubs here. I can turn off that click. I can jump back to the initial part, and then I can go forward with my overdubs. Now, what I like about this going into my amp and processing is I can now add this shimmer, go back to the initial overdub, then add the overdubs back. I can switch the direction to reverse. And then I can also half time this. Make it go forward. And then back to the original time. So I can stop playback here. If I don't like what I've done, I can hit the trash can here, and it's going to delete everything that has been recorded into the buffer. Now let's switch over to B, record another part, and I'll show you how you can jump between the two. So this has got all the same settings with the count in and playing for 2 bars. And let's play in the same key, but something slightly different. Now I'm going to turn that shimmer off because that's distracting me a little bit. And I'm going to overdub to record another part in. Whoops, I made a mistake there. So I can skip back and then overdub it in. So what I can do is I'm playing back B here. I'll turn off the metronome, and I can jump across to A. And it's picking up exactly the same playback. Jump to B, add in some of this shimmer, and it to A. Reverse it, and B. And stop playback. So as you can see, you can have a lot of fun with this loop machine. The idea behind it is you can record in a part and then start creating overdubs and come up with new ideas for your riffs and productions. And as you can see here, by adding some other processing and pulling that in, you can get different results and do some very creative things with the loop machine. So once you're done with the loop machine, you can click here to save your file. It'll save it with the extension ls, so you know that it's a Loop Machine profile. And you can also click open to navigate to Loop Machine profiles that you've saved. So maybe you want to bring in loops from other files and other riffs and bring them into other songs that you're using it with. So that is how to use the Loop Machine Pro, a very versatile tool and especially handy if you're into your loop units and want to create loops and build them up with overdubs.